So I'd like to welcome and thank you all for joining us today here at East Library and online. So when you're speaking, please speak up because we've got people out there in Zoom world watching us.
Okay.
My name is Shirley Martinez, and I'm the Director for Multicultural Outreach and Accessibility for Pikes Peak Library District. And I have here today with us from the library is Yvette Dow Rose, and she is with the programming group for the library district, and Drew, who's actually with our communications department and does a lot of our filming and those things. So this will be our last series of the month. It's the Veteran Series for Patron of Influence. So in honor of Veterans Month, we're hosting this panel of community members coming from places of utilities, Space Force, Tuskegee Airmen, School Board, Golden Lotus Foundation. So we're really trying to get our patrons in our library to speak to our library and to the individuals in our community. In addition to planning this event, we work on several...
Recording in progress.
We are working on several other initiatives that we have during the month. Like we were in the parade, we marched in the parade, but the libraries also put on different storytelling or have books out, so there's other things that happen in our libraries. We're delighted this morning to be able to do this last one for this year, and me as your moderator, and I'm looking forward to listening to your stories and what you have to provide, because those of us in the military, which I was also in the military, I'm retired Navy and Army, we have some phenomenal stories that we can tell from years ago during Vietnam or other times to current. So we're going to start out by having each panel person give us 2 to 3 minutes of who they are, what they were in the military, and kind of like who they are now. So we're going to start with Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Richards, and I'm a retired Army veteran of 20 years. I did U.S. Army Signal Corps. I joined when I was 18, not quite fresh out of high school, but about 3 months later. And primary purpose for me joining was college money. I joined for the college, and when I was at MEPS, little story, I didn't know what job I wanted. So I had to call my brother and say, what should I do? And my brother's like, find a job that you can do outside of the service. And he said, medical field. I was like, well, I really don't like poking people. So he said, okay, find a job with a high security clearance. So I chose the Signal Corps. And from there, our first duty station was on the opposite side of the United States. And I spent my very first Thanksgiving away from my family. At the age of 18, and my mom cried, but she was proud of me. I was able to do, 20 years. Out of those 20 years, 11 years was stationed on an Air Force base in a joint units, 9 times out of 10, and I worked at White House Communications for 7 years. I did Special Forces for 5 years, and I retired out of NORAD here. So I had special unit assignments during that time frame. And now it positioned me to be, I'm a systems engineer now with a degree in IT. So I work for the government contracting with Jacobs right now. And we work supporting NORAD Northcom.
Chris?
Hi everybody, my name is Chris Ortiz. I'm retired Naval Reserve. I did 7 years active duty, and then the rest was all reserve time, so the combined total of 28 years. I myself joined right out of high school, delayed entry. Initially, I'll be honest, I joined to grow up. I was very immature. I had wrestling scholarship offers out of high school, but I knew I wouldn't be successful because I just wanted to wrestle and have fun. So I joined the Navy. Unfortunately, I didn't have anybody to reach out to for jobs. I scored high enough to be air traffic controller, but an 18-year-old mindset because I just wanted to leave after summer. Didn't understand when schools happen. So I went in undesignated, which meant I didn't have a job. So I learned to chip and paint. But I've worked with my hands my whole life, and I really enjoyed the manual labor / leadership side. So I stayed as a bosun's mate in the Navy, which is a jack of all trades. We did everything from drive boats to operate cranes to operate forklifts. My recruiter guaranteed me West Coast as my first duty station. My first duty station was Guam. That was.
On the west side of it.
So that was as far as west went. Any further, I've been on the east. But it was the best thing. You know, mom and dad weren't just a phone call away. I'm a veteran of the Desert Shield, Desert Storm, as well as Operation Enduring Freedom. I wouldn't trade any of my experiences that I've had. I am now a 25-year employee of Colorado Springs Utilities, and I am a superintendent over gas operations. So a lot of the things I learned in the military really helped transfer over.
Thank you. Thanks for your service, both of you. My name is Carlos Gonzalez Jr. I was born and raised in New York City, New York. I graduated just a few months after turning 17. Started college. Flunked out my very first semester. I was too young to know what I was doing, and I thought I'd try again, but I don't do anything half-butt, so I started again and failed again. So I had two semesters of failed college. Just wasn't ready. So I knew better than to be hanging out in New York City, Harlem, New York, so I decided to join the Army. I came in transportation. I joined in '88. My first duty assignment was Kaiserslautern, Germany.
Oh,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Got some, okay, K-Town.
Yes.
So I got there, and I was married before I took off, and I had a baby before I took off. So I was a very young dad, but being in the service helped me grow up, helped me mature, and as time went by, I finished college and was able to be successful there when the time was right. But otherwise, I did 26 years total in the military. 22 are active, 4 Army National Guard and Reserves. I got out in '99 off of active duty, thinking that I was not going to deploy again, and lo and behold, my National Guard unit activated, and I reclassed to an engineer, and I went overseas, and we played in the dirt quite a bit, Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was in Desert Storm as well when I went to Germany. But the experience allowed me to grow up, it allowed me to raise my family, allowed me to get my education, and allowed me to put me in a position to be able to help others around me. So, and I'm thankful for it. Thank you.
What are you doing now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the Whitefield School District 3 Board of Education for about 3 more weeks. Waiting for them to tally the votes and certify them. Otherwise, I'm also a State Farm agent. I retired to open my agency. And all the military experience has definitely aided me in being able to run a business and hire and be able to mentor others. So, thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all for your services this year. My name is Lino Kalika. I'm from the island of Hawaii. As a 17-year-old, I knew what I wanted to go in the military because my brothers, as a young kid, I watched them in their spit shine boots and heavy starch,
Yes.
really utilities, and so after seeing them and our neighbor's Navy uniform, I decided to buy a little, I don't know if it was old enough, but little soldiers, green soldiers, and I used to just play about. And then I joined the military, served almost 6 years in the reserve, 100 Battalion 442 in the Big Island, and then I decided to join the active duty at the Army. So I was hoping I get to see the world as I joined the active duty. So they sent me from one island to the next island. So that was my first duty station in Hawaii. And, and although I did not retire, as like the paper said, I'm very proud to have served in the military, and it's been a blessing, not only for myself, but for my children and my wife to see the world. Thank you.
Lino, what do you do now?
My employment is here at PPLD. I'm the network system analyst here with PPLD. Thank you.
Hi, yes, Mark Dickerson, and like Carlos, I flunked the first exam I ever took in college. I never got an F in my life. I was 3,000 miles from home, so it's like big eyes. But managed to get through and did okay. I at a very young age, decided I wanted to be a pilot. And I'm one of the very few folks that decides what they want to grow up and be at the age of 6 and actually does that. Wow. So I feel very fortunate there. Did college, came on active duty post-Vietnam, so they weren't in a rush to get me in because they were mustering folks out. So they gave me 2 years to work on a master's, so I was able to do that. And it was fortunate because I met my lovely wife there. I spent most of my career flying airplanes, had a really good time, and enjoyed doing that. Never was involved in a shooting war during my whole time on active duty, because I was doing other things to support those efforts. But I lost a number of friends doing the things that we were doing. Aviation can be inherently dangerous, and I lost a number of friends in that. So I'll match with most folks on the number of friends that you've lost during your military career. But I enjoyed most of it and had a great time. If you get a chance to go to the Pentagon, run the other direction. That's my recommendation. But now I'm here in Colorado Springs, and my wife and I both work on a number of different nonprofit kind of boards and volunteer service kind of opportunities. And the things that we learned, she was also in the military for a period, the things that we learned absolutely do serve there, just as was already said, to help make us more helpful to the community. So thanks for coming.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cynthia Chung Aki, and the reason for that is that I still keep my maiden name because I don't want my pay to be messed up. My journey for the armed service began. I do not come from any background of military history, and the only recollection I have of military is going to school with military classmates and looking out my front window in Aiea, Hawaii at Pearl Harbor. So that was my world until a recruiter came to the University of Hawaii when I was a senior there and offered me an internship with the Air Force. So on the day of graduation from the University of Hawaii, I was commissioned a second lieutenant in the Air Force, and I had never been off the island of Oahu. So it was quite an experience to get on an airplane, to fly over to Oklahoma, where the Air Force had provided me scholarship money, and from there I went to Shepherd Air Force Base for training, and my first assignment was Air Force Headquarters, Andrews Air Force Base. I was among all the stars and birds, and it was quite an eye-opener. And from there, my career took off, and I said, I gotta get this done. I desired that I'm gonna do this, and I put in 30 years. My career extended from the Air Force to the Public Health Service, and when I retired, and I was married, we decided to come to Colorado Springs and make our home here. So from there, I then started my own consulting company. So I have Cynthia Chalnaki Consulting Company, which I did for a while, and then I decided that I just fell into being a nonprofit person and became the president and CEO of the Golden Lotus Foundation that I started in 2011. And our goal is to build an Asian Heritage Center here in Colorado Springs, which we have the blessing of City Council and the parks. We were granted 8.5 acres of land at 1819 West Cheyenne Road. And we have a 16,000 square foot building that we are now modifying into what will certainly become the Asian Heritage Center, Botanical Gardens, Tea House, and Zodiac Playground.
Oh,
That's where I am now.
It's huge. It's been something that lots of the Asian community have been looking to do for a long time, and Cynthia took up the mantle and, you know, made it happen, because that's a lot of work, and it's going to be beautiful. So I do have some questions that I'm going to be asking the panel, and you'll have 2 minutes to answer each of those questions, so really think about, that's why I sent you the questions before. But to say that all of us with our different journeys in the military, it doesn't matter when you got out, how long you stayed in, or any of that. We're always comrades at arms. And we always stick up for each other, and we're always there for each other, no matter what. And so it's so important as we see some of our comrades that are so struggling so much right now, that we're there for them, and that we're helping without questioning, because we have a lot of people that have a lot of things in their background and what they've learned and what they understood that can't cope. And that was one thing the military didn't do for us, was help us learn how to cope with some of these things that we saw or that we dealt with during our time. And, you know, now a lot of us are learning how to do that. So that's why it's really good to get panelists up and talking about that, and also talking to our younger service members, because whereas we had the hard knocks of the military, they're just put in it, which is a big difference in learning. My career was with the Navy, and I was a radioman, so I was in communications, and I did ship to shore, and like everybody else, I wasn't shipped to someplace in the States. I was shipped over to Italy. That was my first duty station. So, you know, we had to grow up fast. I was 18. And then in the military, coming in the Army, and then retiring here at Fort Carson in 2001. So I'm going to start out with, what does Veterans Day mean to you? Because I know it's gotten commercialized, and you get that free meal and all those things, but you know what, at the end of the day, it actually means something more to us. So I'm giving you the opportunity to let us know what it does mean to you, and you have 2 minutes each.
Let's see, what Veterans Day means to me. I did have family members that served in the service, but like World War II, I had no female women, period, in my family that joined the service. But to me, it's a matter of honoring those that came before, those who served right next to me, and currently those who are serving, and appreciating their time that they're volunteering. It is purely a volunteer force, and you have to raise your right hand and say, I will support and defend that Constitution, and understand what that means. And essentially, it's just, for me, the free meals, if I get something, great. If not, no, I don't care. But I appreciate it, though. I appreciate the businesses supporting this, because not every generation has seen that. And that's what Veterans Day means to me.
Yeah, Veterans Day for me, I stay home or I go to the cemetery. Not about free meals. I mean, it's great that we're being recognized, but My grandfather was World War II vet. He was part of Easy Company. Seeing the hardships that those that served before me make my hardships look kind of silly. My father-in-law, who's like a second father to me, is a Vietnam vet, and he's going through a lot of issues right now, health-wise. He finally listened to me and went to VA. He got his hearing aids. He doesn't like to turn them on, but he has.
Isn't that funny?
But I mean, it's about those that paved the path before us, for me. And I wish I would have loved history in high school because I love it now. And to me, I love the stories. And I'm not, my wife, she jokes that I'm a robot, I don't have emotions. But play the national anthem and I tear up like a little baby. So that Veterans Day to me, that's what it's about, is remembering those that sacrificed, those that are still going through their own mental journey and issues. I've been blessed with my career. I've had my struggles, but nowhere near some of my partners have had. So thank you.
I think that, to me, Veterans Day is also remembering, like he said. It's remembering that we're kind of all in this together. We can't have peace without war, unfortunately. And those that pay the price or serve or still serving, have served, are the ones that we kind of need to remember. I don't believe that, I'm not big on history, but I know the big points in history where the countries have come together and been united over something. And I think it's been since World War II that everyone had skin in the fight, right? So I think that it gives us a chance to remember that we are a strong country, a united country, but we can't be that without our veterans. We can't be safe, and we can't have the right to kneel during on the playing of the national anthem, or in some cases fly the flag upside down. I'm trying to understand all this, and whether we like it or not, it's the veterans that serve this country that allows us to make those personal decisions to do the things that we want to do as Americans. So it's a lot about remembering, and it's a lot about remembering sort of the last time we were almost completely unified in World War II, World War I. So that's what it means to me.
What Veterans Day means to me, this is a special day for me. It gives us a special opportunity to celebrate and honor all the veterans who have served to defend the Constitution of the United States, and who also sacrificed their lives. But most important, we always remember the veterans, but we seem to forget that the spouses and the families also have sacrificed by going with the veterans. So it is very important for me to always celebrate. Before I joined the American Legion, I just stayed home, didn't do anything on Veterans Day. Then I joined the American Legion, and they came the brotherhood I was looking for, and the family I was looking for, who helped me through my tough times. So I thank the American Legion and the members, and I thank all the veterans who have served. And that is important to everybody. We need to recognize them not only on Veterans Day, we need to recognize them every day. Thank you.
Well, I think a lot has been said, and I agree with all of it. There's a saying for Martin Luther King Day that a lot of folks will say, shouldn't be a day off, it should be a day on. Where you're doing something that Martin Luther King would have been proud of seeing you do. And it's the same for me in a way for Veterans Day. That it's not a day off, but it's a day to be of service, both to our fellow veterans who have sacrificed so much, but also to the country that we sacrificed for. So I try to make an effort to be about doing something that day that, I don't know, the Founding Fathers would be proud of. Just trying to be involved in activities that continue to advance what we want to be as a country.
I am so proud to be an American, and I am so proud to be a veteran. Veterans Day to me is a historical day where we reflect back on all the men and women and families who have sacrificed so much to keep our country together and keep us free. I am so blessed to always meet another veteran. My heart is full when I shake the hand or hug another veteran because I know what they went through and the sacrifices that they gave. So Veterans Day to me is that I have a group of medical people that I meet up with, and sometimes we only see each other for once a year, which is a great reunion. But also when we partake in the generosity of our restaurants, I always reach out to another veteran, and many times, instead of 5 of us sitting together, there's 10 of us sitting together, because we just join up and we start chatting. And to me, this is just a wonderful day set aside that we can share stories, share a meal, and so I hope that sometimes Veterans Day should be every day.
Yeah, keep the mic, keep the mic. So my next question is, because you did talk a little bit earlier about why you enlisted into the service, but my next question is, what would be your proudest moment of your service?
Oh my gosh.
Uno, Cynthia.
Yes, you're right. I mean, okay, so here I am, a second lieutenant, and I'm off a country bumpkin from Honolulu, Hawaii, and I need a uniform. So I go to, where was I now? Okay, I'm at the University of Oklahoma. I'm at, what is the base there? And I can't remember there, but anyway, I get this call saying, okay, Cynthia, you know, the plane's taking off and you need to go to Wright Pat Air Force Base and they'll fit you with the uniform. So I don't want to be late, and I didn't realize that this is a T-38, and it was flying the general to Wright Pat. And so I cut in front of the general, second lieutenant, and I hop on the plane, and later on, the pilot comes to me and says, Lieutenant Chung, I just want to tell you that since you're the lowest ranking person, you have to follow the general. You should have let the general. Oh, okay. So that is not a proud moment, but that is a learning moment. The proudest moment I ever had was in 1972. I was stationed at the Clark Air Base in the Philippines. And President Nixon called a ceasefire to end the Vietnam War. In that particular month, 662 POWs from Hanoi flew into Clark at any time of the day, and my profession is a registered dietitian. I had to make sure that the meals were prepared and ready for our POWs. That is my proudest moment because to this day, 50 years, I am still friends with the POWs. And we have many POWs here in Colorado Springs. One particular is John McGrath, my dearest, dearest friend, who was incarcerated in Hanoi Hilton for 6 years. Bless his heart, bless the heart of all of the 662 men who survived.
Well, on the traveling thing with the general, folks later on, You can ask my wife about the child lock on the car. My proudest moment takes a little bit of a second to explain, so I hope I don't go over my 2 minutes. But I was doing flight test related stuff, and we had a job. I was in charge of the Performance and Flying Qualities branch in the F-16 Combined Test Force at Edwards Air Force Base. And we had a test that needed to be done to evaluate a change in the radar system of that aircraft, because they wanted to determine if it would be able to detect cruise missiles, very low radar cross-section cruise missiles. And we only had 6 weeks to get this done. We did not have the software change. We did not have a test plan built to show what we wanted to test, and we did not have a low radar cross-section target to even fly against, to see if the airplane could see it. We had none of these things, and we had 6 weeks to get answers to headquarters. So basically, it was a case of Dickerson, make it happen. So it's like, yes, sir, you're going to back me up when I ask for things that don't exist, right? And he did. We were able to accomplish it, and that's one of my proudest moments in the Air Force, was to be able to get those resources together, work with the Navy to make it all come together, and we managed to get it done. So that was one of my proudest moments.
My proudest moment is, first I have to tell you a little bit story about myself. I come from a family of 14, and out of the 14 children, 9 of us served in the military. The first older group was 4, they went to Vietnam, and and the younger group, which was us, 8 of us, we're still young, so we all joined the military, and we were very proud of it. And now we have we were all NCOs at that time, and the second generation is all officers. So at least we did something. And also, so we're very proud of that, our nieces and nephews. Also, my proudest moment was in, like I said, they sent me from one island to the next island. In 1980, as I was stationed in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, I didn't know that 3 of my siblings were stationed at the same time as I did, and 1 nephew.
Wow.
So it was a great moment, because I was I was just a PFC, everybody was E6 and above, but they showed me the ropes, and they also helped my family to get adapted to military life. And my last one, sorry, my memory is not as sharp. And finding out in 2000, this is a very touching, but out of all 8 of us, 9 of us, we had one brother who, after my dad passed away, he sacrificed his military career to come home and raise the 8 of us at the age of 21. So he was our brother figure, my brother Rato, and till we were young, and until now, he's 83. He always checks up on us. He came to Colorado, checks to make sure the food was good. And I was 50, and he came and checked, make sure all the family. He went to all the families and made sure we all was okay. And that's all my special moments, and I'm very proud of it. Thank you. Thank you.
I might be cheating. You gave me too many days to think about the question. So I think one of my proudest moments in my career was coming back from Operation Iraqi Freedom with my whole squad. We were stationed in Ramadi, Iraq, and a lot of other units can't say that. And I remember getting back in December of 2006 from the desert and sitting in front of my house just thinking like this was an accomplishment. I was able to come back. I have every member of my squad, not the whole company didn't come back. Some got hurt. We lost one for sure, but I was blessed enough to come back. So that was absolutely my, during that time of service. But I think everyone up here and everyone that's wore the uniform will tell you we're still serving. And everything that we've learned and everything that we've done, been through, the pain, the sorrow, the accomplishments. So I have to tell you that overall my biggest accomplishment or success was when COVID hit. I was just elected to the Whitefield School District 3 school board. And I had no idea what it was to be a school board. But when the schools shut down and everyone was trying to figure out what to do next, because this has not happened before, at least not in our time, my proudest moment was being able to come in to the building, the admin building, and collaborate with the school leadership on what next steps to take, and not panic, and not let the moment take us over, because we have 9,500 kids and 1,600 staff that we have to serve. So the proudest moment is being able to help guide the district, the leadership, in being able to reopen schools safely, and not panicking, and using everything I learned to be able to do that.
And just so you know, he was the one that got me interested in the school board where I ran, because he called me up and said, you need to be on the school board.
She doesn't always listen, but she did that time.
Yes.
So, there's so many moments.
I know, right?
I mean,
It's not fair. 2 minutes.
getting promoted. I mean, my entire career was enlisted. And when I made E7 in the Navy, which is a Navy chief, there's an actual formal ceremony. And unfortunately, I was deployed in 2011, so my family couldn't be there. Streaming didn't work, and she wasn't there, but that's one of my moments. But prepping for deployment, I was operating gunboats, so I figured out we're gonna probably support harbor patrol and escort in and out of the Gulf. And unfortunately, I was so good, well, fortunately, I was so good at operating the boats, they call them boat coxswains, that I was selected to be part of our SWIC, our Special Ops Support gunboats for the Navy SEALs and the SF. So at 42, this Navy guy got his jump wings. Never thought I'd do that in the Navy. And at my retirement, and I was blessed to have Shirley there, my teams that I supported flew from San Diego and were at the retirement. We had it at the picnic grounds of the Air Force Academy, which is beautiful. And it was just really neat to have that piece of it, but also staying with the young bucks, letting them know they can outdo us. But that was a kick in the pants, and God has a plan, because had I done it 20 years prior, I probably wouldn't be here. But it was fun, and I enjoyed it, and that all those combined.
Let's see, as everyone here has stated, you have many moments in your service that you're like, yeah. For me, speaking of jump wings, I got my jump wings 6 months after I gave birth to my youngest daughter. I had just taken a PT test, and I walk into my shower and stuff, get ready to work, and I see the first sergeant walked in there to do something, and the senior NCO in the PAC office was like, hey, you ready to go to jump school? I said, yeah, I'm on the OML a couple months down the road. They're like, no, you're going next week. I was like, okay. But that was one. I have another one that at the young age of 22, I was stationed in Korea, and I got called into my my commander's office and first sergeant's office, they're both in there. They're like, Specialist Metzger, my maiden name. What did you do? I was like, I showed up for work on time. But they're like, well, apparently somebody at the White House wants to talk to you. I was like, I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. I promise. I don't remember anything. But that was when I got selected for White House Communications. It's not something that you apply for. I think now you can apply for it, but back then I never applied. I was like, how'd they find me? But apparently being a good soldier and just kind of keeping your slate clean helped out. Two proud moments.
So my next question is, there's a statement that's always used, and I've been hearing lately about how service members feel about it, but I want to see what you feel about it. The statement is, thank you for your service.
When somebody when somebody thanks me for my service, I tell them, thank you, I appreciate you recognizing that. I don't expect it as a retiree or just, in general. I don't expect somebody to go out of their way and say thank you for their service. I don't always wear military things that identify me as being in the military, but I try to use my ID card when I can. And in the service industries, they've always been taught to say thank you. And I greatly appreciate it. For me, it just says, somebody took the time to think about that. It's not just something that's just, no, I just got to say this. But I greatly appreciate it because they thought about that before they even said it.
First time I was thanked for my service, I'll be honest, I wasn't comfortable. It was unexpected. I came back, and I think that's what I had a hard time with, is those that didn't come back. So it was my own internal, I appreciate the appreciation. My response, and it's funny because I really had to think about what is my response when they thank me. And my response is, it was my honor. And I truly believe that. So a simple question can be so touching, but it truly was. It caught me off guard. Not much catches me off guard. I'm quick with the tongue at times, but that definitely did. I do appreciate it.
Anytime I'm thanked for my service, first of all, I spent a lot of time in Europe, in Germany, and it's not, at least during my time, it wasn't normal for someone to say thank you for your service, because everyone was in the service overseas, unless you're on vacation. So it was a little different. Coming back to the States, came to Fort Carson, didn't hear it much at that time either. I started hearing it a lot after about 2001, 2002 is when I started hearing it quite a bit when I was in uniform. I always say thank you, so I thank them for thanking me. But the meaning changed one time when I was, I don't know, this was probably 2008, when it was Veterans Day and I was in line and someone from behind me tapped me on my shoulder and said, thank you for your service. And I turned around and I said, thank you, but it was a Vietnam veteran. Oh. And that something clicked in me, reminded me that we didn't treat our veterans very well at all back then. I know my uncles, my family weren't treated very well at all. So I almost accept the thank you for your service individually on behalf of those that were not thanked for their service. So I almost take it, it's a mental thing, I guess. I just take it in, and anytime I see a Vietnam veteran, I can identify, they have something that says a Vietnam veteran. I thank them for their service.
Thankfulness, thanking me for my services. Back in the early 90s and late earlier, we was not thanked. We get in the military and they give you papers and you go on your way. Mm-hmm. But when they say thank you now, I thank them also for recognizing. And then if they're a Vietnam veteran, even though it's not Veteran Day, I always say welcome back and thank you for your service. And I think it's very important, especially for the Vietnam era soldiers who did not have that. And I think it's very important to also thank every soldier.
It's kind of flashing red light here. I don't know what that means. I don't think it's working right now. But so
Only a pilot would have caught a flashing, blinking light.
That's your attention. Flashing red lights get your attention.
Keep going.
Lights on the cockpit, I imagine.
So, you know, I was going to share a thought regarding the way it used to be, like several of you have when I was in ROTC back during the Vietnam War, and I'm wearing my uniform across campus. You can imagine some of the harassment that we would get, just the opposite of thank you for your service. But nowadays, when I hear that, I'm a little bit weird, because my response is basically, shh, I was loving it the whole time because I was flying. I lost some friends, but for the most of the time, I was enjoying being what I was doing. So.
After I retired, I was very low-key. Many people do not know that I have a military background. However, when someone thanks me for my service, it's a conversation starter. And I appreciate it, because then I am able to ask the person several questions, and I really feel very, very good that someone even takes the opportunity to recognize that veterans have put up a lot of sacrifices for our country. So thank you for your service. It's so meaningful to me.
So, I mean, as the time is getting down, because I want to be able to make sure that you have some time to ask questions, our last question is, if you had one thing to tell youth today about the military, entering the military, what would it be? And it's like one thing.
Actually, I have two things. I want to know how many people here are civilians in our audience. Okay, the first thing is that when you approach a military base, there's a sentry there, and that sentry salutes you. The salute is respect, and it is returned with respect. That is the first thing about all military people. When you meet someone, a salute goes up and it's returned with honor. That is number one. Number two is every person has its rank and file. If you are a military person and you are a higher ranking, you are on the left side. And the reason is, it goes back to John Paul Jones, where I was told they had sabers. So in order to protect your troops, you stand in front and you whip out your saber, and so you don't want anybody on the left side. You'll be cutting down the troops. You are protecting and making sure that there is trust in your battalion or your troops. So two things, respect and trust.
Almost tear me up here, right? Because those are absolutely valid points. For me, if I'm talking to a young person, what's important, I think, is the idea that they call it the service because you have to serve. And it's you're not going in for the meal ticket, as somebody was saying earlier. You're not going in to see the world. You're going in to provide service, and the mission comes first. And so if you want to do any new job, I tell a young person, you do the best you possibly can at the job you're doing right now. You do that well, and suddenly the phone call rings and you're heading for the White House or something like that. Do your current job well. But remember that it is service. You know, you can use the word with or without an understanding, but it's not always going to be easy, and you're going to have to keep going anyhow.
For me, as I'm talking to young young person, first ask them to research what field you want to be in. And think about what field and what branch of service you want to be. And also to, when you go to school, to do the best you can. And that you will be serving our country. And because for me, I joined the infantry. I don't know why. So that's why I asked them to research on what field you want to have.
I would do the same. I would have them research, find an interest, and see if you can qualify for doing that, whether it's communication, transportation, medical. Definitely do the research and do something you think you want to do, and maybe it'll turn into something that you love, and then you excel at it. I definitely tell a lot of young people to give it a shot, give the military a shot. Not necessarily the Army, it could be the Air Force, the Navy, depending on who I'm talking to. If I know the young person, I'll like, yeah, you're Army. They're like, ooh, I think you want to go overseas and you want to see a lot of different exotic countries. From what I know, join the Navy. But I try to definitely do something that you're interested in, and almost more next to that, almost as important, is something that you can use when you get out. Because just because you join doesn't mean you have to stay enlisted or commissioned. I think that you should find something that transfers into the civilian world so you can continue doing it.
Pretty much what everybody said. Do the research, make sure you're going in for the right reasons. Because when you're going in, it is just you. Mom and Dad are home. Mom and Dad can't call and complain to anybody because Uncle Sam now owns you.
I mean, he can.
Well, they can, but Uncle Sam owns you.
But find somebody who cares.
There you go.
I've had the pleasure and the privilege to help guide a lot of our friends, younger graduates within the last probably 10 years to current, to which branch suits them the best. I could honestly say the Navy, every birthday I had from 19 through 23, I was on a different continent. Been around the world 4 times. I love traveling. I mean, it was Uncle Sam's dime. Yes, initially I joined for the GI Bill, the wonderful $8,800. But the one thing I will say is when I redeployed, I requalified for the new GI Bill, which I was able to pass on. So there's a lot of benefits, whether you make a career out of it. It's worth somebody who really doesn't know what they want to do. If you want to experience life on your own with nobody but yourself to hold accountable, the military is the way to go.
I forgot to say I was a recruiter for 2 years. So I actually put in 2 officers. The first officer I put in, he was a dropout from an Air Force Academy. And it took a lot. He wanted to come back in. He cleaned his slate clean with the Air Force Academy, paid all his money back, and it took a lot of paperwork. But I think he's still in to this day. What I would tell my future recruits, that if they're looking at joining the service, it doesn't have to be the Army. You're joining the service at the end of the day. We're all one team, one fight. And choose a career field that 1, you're going to enjoy working in. 2, you're going to gain knowledge in. And 3, you're going to make the most of it no matter what. At the end of the day, it's your personal choice. Also what's open and available at the time that the service offers you. But make the most of it if you choose to raise that right hand. You are doing a service to this country, and you're going to be paid to get training in that job field, that career field, whether it be medical or engineering or boats. but, you know, it just choose what you see as fitting best for you. And out of the ones that I put in the Army, they enjoyed it for the most part that I know of, but I left after 2 years of recruiting, so I'm not in contact with any of them.
So next, we're going to come out to the audience and see if you have any questions. Does anybody have any questions of the group? No?
I have a question.
Okay.
Is it Beth Ann?
Yes.
Can you tell us about the fact in your little paragraph intro about your more takeoffs than landings?
Yes. So I have more takeoffs in helicopters and airplanes than I do landings in any of those, and that's because we jumped out of them. We jumped out of them. So, you know, like I said, I went to jump school 6 months after, 6.5 months after I gave birth to my youngest daughter, and I was down at 10th Special Forces Group down at Fort Carson, and there was a lot of weight on my shoulders as a female, just because there's not a lot of females. And I was in a support aspect with group support. Anyway, the previous 3 or 4 females had failed out. So I was like, oof, I just had a baby. But I made it through. I came back and I got free lunch for the rest of the week.
Any other questions?
Someone mentioned that it's a volunteer force now. What do you think about bringing back the draft?
I'm just going to take that one.
Oh, Carlos.
As a leader in the military, I retired as an Army First Sergeant, and I remember this conversation coming up about the draft. Can you imagine if they brought the draft back? How hard that would be on the Army leadership at this point, because we'd get a lot of people that didn't want to serve that are now serving, and you know, I'm sure that they'll figure it out and they'll be fine. But maybe a draft if it comes to that point, but with different criteria. I don't. So the draft, I just remember watching all the movies, all the draft. You got a number, right? And then you commit. Maybe it's more drafting what we need first. If we need more communications, maybe we reach out to communication companies. If we need more the cybersecurity, which I think that's the world we live in now, maybe we draft at that level. But drafting straight across the board, I can't see it just yet.
And I kind of agree, the services are having challenges enough with the volunteer force and keeping people on track. However, if I'm not mistaken, young men, and I believe perhaps women as well now, have to register when they come of age, so that folks know where they are, if in case the draft were to return. So I can imagine a draft returning, but it would be very dire circumstances for the country, in my opinion, for that to make sense. So I kind of agree.
I think we would put our uniforms back on first.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I am hearing that one of the things that the military is suffering from is leadership. That the leadership we grew up with during the Cold War, we were like leaders. The leaders that we have now were kind of rushed through because of all the different, Iraqi Freedom and Desert Storm and those things. And so there were a lot of people that didn't really have time to grow into leaders. They were made leaders because of the situation. And so, a lot of times when we were going through, you learned a lot growing up as a leader because of your training and your, the time you spent in the field together and training with each other. There's not that opportunity for a lot of that right now, and they do a lot of things by simulation, which we did at my hands-on. So that's, yeah. And I wanted to say, one of the things that I felt was my proudest moment, because I did have a lot, was as a 19-year-old working in a comm center in Naples, Italy, air base. I was one of the comm center individuals that did the 44 hostages with Iran. So I was one of the ones that had come through the helicopters and through ship to shore. So as a 19-year-old, I didn't think of it then, but now I realize what, we were doing during that time to help out with that cause. So that was in 1980. So yeah. So if there's no other questions, I'd like to thank our panel. Amazing panel with such diverse careers and, being in with whether it was reserves and active duty. I think it's just really important that our military, we get these stories. We hear from our leaders of before. And, I know one of the things I would be looking to do is to have something like this out in the community, especially during Veterans Month, but always for our younger service members, because they need us. And I'm looking forward to American Legion and VFWs and all the other ones coming together and start doing history and stories. I think we have to start doing that because we're losing those voices. So thank you again for coming, and thank you audience for coming, and thank you for online.